Okay. Hi everybody. Sorry I skipped last week. It kind of was hectic at work, so I didn't really have the time. But I did make up for it by rearranging my code a bit so that it would actually make sense this time. And I have also included a link in the description, and if you open that one, you can actually follow along. Or at least you get a copy of the code as it is now. So if you find something in there that's not correct, let me know. So I can change that, and help is of course very much obliged. Because the last time, I think I already fixed it, I rearranged a few things in the idea that it would then be easier to change things. And as I had already predicted, the temporary bar would come back, that error of drawing the screen. So, but because I rearranged things, there should be a rearrange button that would help. That's all the buttons. Where's everything else? Where's all my others? Oh, here. Yeah. So I rearranged how things are going to start up now. On start, it actually just calls functions instead of having functions and variables be set on start. So instead, I let it call on functions, and every function would be the name of what it's setting. So it would call on set stats, so these are the setting of the variables for my character. So if I want to implement a different character that I want to track, then all I have to do is change the variables in this function, and I would be ready. Then main layout are actually all the stats that I'm using as I'm building it, because in this I'm setting like location of the text, the pixel orientation of lines, the start orientation of the selector sprite, and things like that, which needs to be set before we actually draw the screen. So this is indeed the main layout. And then it calls, because this one only goes once. I actually put in comments this time. It only runs once. So I've been starting to look at which function runs once and which runs more. Well, these functions only run once, which is good for me to know. And the main function then calls on health and temp, I think. Why don't I just ask it? Oh. I should drink more coffee. Bloop. Yeah. So this, then it calls this one, also only rolls once, and it sets up the layout of like the health bar and the temp bar. That's where the reset problem came from, because it was being set again, and it caused it to fall back on the value because it was run again. But now it only rolls once. You've also noticed that I am changing the naming convention. I'm not done yet, but it should be more obvious now that layout are functions that actually manage the placement of objects, things, sprites, texts, things like that. And they only have to run once. I can imagine a situation in which we would want to like change where something is placed, but right now we don't want to, so I'm just going to keep it the way it is. So we have those. Let's put them in order. So then, so we're filling up the variables with these three functions. And then we have the variables of layout. And do you call a function? No, you don't, do you? No, you don't call another function. So then we go back to onStart and it calls a reset. Why do I do that? I can't remember. Reset, where are you? Here you are. I call reset. I think that's where I stopped with my rearranging things. Yeah, because here we had problems with last time because of the temp HP would still be there even though we reset it. But now kind of using a reset on start to just make sure that like the menu state is 0, the current hit points is always max, temp hit points is 0, damage and healing is 0. Simply just wipe the slate clean before we start adding values, with the idea that we don't get, I think, what's called an OBOB, if I remember correctly, which is off by 1 bug. Because there might be like a residual value in a variable which causes it to just add up every time it resets instead of actually setting it back to 0. So that's why I wanted a reset in there anyway, just to make sure that I'm always going from a clean place. So that's why I'm calling a reset every time it starts, just to make sure that everything is in the right position before we get going. Clear screen is like a similar thing. That's this one. With the clean screen, I kind of like make sure there's nothing there. There are no sprites there or other things that shouldn't be there. Because I mostly, as you can see, I destroy sprites and set the background color to black. Let me put it this way. I'm trying to make sense of how to order things, how to arrange things. So that's what the clean screen does. And then it, yeah, then it calls screen refresh. Where is the screen refresh? Here's the screen refresh. And then this is actually, the screen refresh is like the draw. It draws the background, it draws the name of the character below. And now that I'm thinking about it, should this be in the layout? But you can't. I'll think about it. But it is part of setting where this thing should go. But I can also keep it here, but then it gets redrawn every time and it shouldn't be that big of a problem, I hope. So that's the screen refresh, and it also calls update HP and update spell screens, and that's where I think that's where I stopped with the naming convention because I wasn't that far yet. So let's continue that. And that's where the reset. Okay, so the screen refresh is actually, what do we say, screen draw, I think. Do I use camel case? Yes. Screen draw. Okay. You might also have noticed that on start I also call screen draw again. But that's because reset, clear screen, and then screen draw are like one chain that's happening. And reset will get called multiple times. So it kind of built it in such a way that it has to happen again. But why do I have to redraw the screen on start is because of the load save that's in between there. After the reset, everything is like wiped clean, and then I go and look, is there saved variables in there, like hit points, like spell slots, and if there are, put those variables in, and then I tell it redraw the screen because variables might have changed, and you need to display that. So then I'm wondering, shouldn't I just not call a reset, because that kind of defeats the purpose of having a save state, of saving and loading things, but maybe clear screen before I say draw screen? Because if I say clear screen, what do you guys think? Maybe. But yeah. Let's continue with screen draw. Because then we have the update HP. Okay. What do you do? What do you do again? Because I can't remember. Okay. It looks at what the health is doing. And I think it's, yeah, this part, most of the if loop that it's doing is checking if there is damage, and if there's more damage to an HP. Oh, hello. Well, if you want to know what a Meowbit is, it's this little thing. And everything that I'm coding on here, on the simulator, I can actually load onto this and then just play with it. So if you code games in this one, you can actually load it on here and take this with you. It has like a small battery, and in case of a Meowbit, it actually has like the connector that you might have seen on a Microbit. So you can actually plug stuff into it, like motors or lights or other things. But I mainly use this to just code games that I can then give to my nieces. But right now I'm trying to code a tracker for one of my D&D characters, so that I don't have to like pencil it in and then rub it out every time. So these things are pretty small, and they come in blue and they come in orange. And they're not that expensive. It's just a single board thing. Let me actually show you what it looks like without its skin. And I gave these to my nieces in the hope that they might actually start programming themselves. But I think they're still too young for that, or they don't understand this enough. Well, the tracker isn't going as fast as I want to. I'm still having problems with the magic slots. But also with actually implementing new features tends to break old features. But I guess a lot of people know that or are familiar with that if they code. Okay, and that's out. And if you actually take the skin off, make it more gruesome. This is actually what the Meowbit is, and it has an extra slot for an SD. Power is given through USB micro. I noticed that my ring light is obscuring things and my camera doesn't want to actually focus on things. So you have the 6 buttons. They're very tactile, so you can really feel them as you press them. It actually does have sound. It has a small speaker on there. And here are the buttons for the menu and for the reset. And here's the on and off button. And it has 2 small LEDs that will indicate battery or if it's on. So it's actually a pretty small thing, so you can fit it in a lot of spaces if you want to. It's really nice that way. It's one of the reasons why you picked it. But for this website, the Makecode arcade, you actually have different hardwares that you can pick from. So you have the Meowbit, but you also have like more in the line of Game Boys kind of things, but also ones which would be more fun to actually 3D print something. And also you can just make your own input and output if that's what you want. And if you're capable, then it would only be awesome if you can like build an arcade table for kids or for yourself, because why not? So that's very versatile. But I was recoding this. How am I going to recode this? I'm going to rename this. This is the text. It sets the text as well. It sets the bar, so it actually is drawing the screen on the second half, isn't it? So I should call it HP screen. Or should I keep it the name HP? In the idea of making it more searchable, maybe I should call it HP and then what it actually does, so that it would be easier to actually find it in my functions list. Even though I have to admit that my functions list doesn't really have anything alphabetically. So that's not going to help much, is it? Yeah. So let's just look at all the function that has to deal with HP and then kind of decide what function is what. So we have the HP menu, which is a small menu that you get once you call up. That's this small thing. So that's HP menu. I think that's a good name for it. So we're keeping that name. This is the similar function, but then for the temporary hit points. So let's give that a similar naming convention. Temp HP menu. There we go. So at least we have named these two, and I think that takes care of itself. So I'm not going to worry about those two. But I thought there were two functions that dealt with the HP. Where's the other one? I wish there was like a reorganize function. Is there? Though? Format code. Kind of scary of using format code with the idea that a long time ago when we still have MS-DOS, I would yearly go like format C just to clear my computer and restall everything. But I don't think there's another function dealing with HP, is there? So then we can call this HP screen. I know it technically it's drawing the screen, but also updating the variables. But I don't want to put it like into different functions. Should I put it into different functions? I really don't know. It's so... Programming is not my... It's a hobby. So I'm not that good at it. Because it's from this bit... I could, because the damage heal function variable, I already made it before we go to this function, so we shouldn't have a scope issue. Just a disclaimer, I really suck at scope. That's why I don't program that much, because I really get into trouble with that. For some reason or another. Maybe I make too much functions. No, we're going to keep it like that. And we have everything nice and tidy. So then it calls the HP and spell screen. But I wonder, where does the temp HP get drawn? Because if I do this and I say I want temporary hit points, Because I think it also gets done here. Yeah, also gets done there. Oh, that was what I was thinking of last time. To just combine the temporary hit points and the average hit points because they get drawn in the same function. And then the function of the menu, the pop-up menu, can also just be one function instead of two different ones. But now that I think about it, that might not be that easy for the other one. For when I push a button and say, I want to do this. I want to either change the HP or temp HP. So I'll just leave them separate for now. As long as I don't get in trouble with it, it should be fine. Temp HP screen. Okay. So we're doing those both. Yay. Okay. So the screen draws my title, draws my background, then calls on to draw the HP and the temp HP, and then it's called to draw my spells screen. And it says to... Oh, this is a backup. I also told it to make the select sprite. That's that little red thing. I know I've changed it so many times, but I can't get the color right, or that it's easier to see. Which is sad, but I shouldn't get too fancy just yet. I have to make it work before I make it pretty. But as a backup, put it back on visible, because there are other things in the menu that would cause it to become invisible, like death saving throws. So then as a kind of extra, just make sure when they draw the normal screen, the sprite comes back. So that one, and then we go to the spells screen. Hello. That's this one. I'll get back to you in a minute. And here, yeah, it goes through the array that I set up to draw all these little purple dots. And every time, and it checks if there is supposed to be a filled dot or an empty dot there, in case I actually use the spell slot. The stupidest thing is, I've already put this in here, but I still haven't actually implemented it that I can change it. So maybe I should. But the naming convention is accurate. Let's see if I do something weird with this. No. Set count. Yeah. Okay. From what I'm seeing, it still looks okay. Yeah. So that one's good. And you don't call on anything else, do you? No. That one does, but that's in an if statement. It will call on the death save function if your current HP hits 0. Okay. So we've done that. So this is all that was needed to actually get the whole thing going. Then we have the save load. We never had any issues with this, so we're keeping this. What this thing does is, when it's called, it looks if there is a saved value with a particular name. So HP and temp HP and luck and stuff. And if there is, it will set that value. So as an example, if you, my max HP for this character is 37. But if I got hit last time and I kind of like lost 7 hit points, it should be like 30 of the 37. And no, that's too much. No, I'm adding. I should be. Yes. So. Plop. So that when I restart this thing, it should yet again say 30 of the 37. So that should be saved on here. And if it sees that the value isn't is either max or 0, I think. Yeah, I tell it, does it exist? This is the first thing I asked. And if it does, if you read it as a number, is it bigger than 0? In the sense that if it's 0, then you're going to get into a death loop. So it kind of expects you not to like be unconscious when you turn it off. That would be a cliffhanger though. So if it is 0 or minus for some weird reason, it will set it back to max HP. So, and it does similar for the rest. It just looks, is there a number there in certain margins? And if there is, then take that number as like the current HP, current temp, things like that. And load that. So that's our save function, with the idea that if I want to continue where I left off, so if I have turned this one off, I'll do it. I say I've lost 15 hit points. So now it's on. Oh, come on. Focus. 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 It really doesn't want to focus, does it? So it says 22 of 37. And if I turn it off because our session is over and I want to go home and want to go to bed and I come back the next time, if I turn it back on, it still remembers how much damage I got last time. And hopefully today we're going to fix the spell slots too, so that it actually remembers which spells I had already used, or at least how many spell slots I have already used. Okay, and then it draws a screen again, because we have changed the variables with the load and save. And then we ask it to draw again. And when it draws again the HP and temp, HP and the spell screen. Cool. And most likely in the future, because Shanko, is this the character's name, is actually not that much of a spellcaster, but she is a Fortune's friend in 3.5, DnD 3.5, so she has a lot of luck to spend. So I want to actually track that too. So that would kind of be like our third screen we would make would be the luck points, and it would be most likely done in a similar way as the spell screens for the spells, so shouldn't be too difficult. Famous last words. Okay, so we have the save now. We've drawn our screen, we have our variables. Now what? I really should. I can't select more things. Let's put these down here so I can actually get to them faster. I have more stuff out here. Just floating here. No. Okay. I want stuff here. Maybe I should just put this in the corner because it's the first thing that will help start. Organize stuff. I'm ranging it now as to when they get called and what they themselves then call. I know there are plenty of ways to do this in code, but it's kind of visual coding, isn't it? It's not really... And I wish I could, like... Oh, the screen gets done by... Okay, never mind. That's gonna be a pain in the ass. Anyway. Okay. What are these things? My notes. Let's put that also up there. I thought this thing had an absolute top and bottom, but it does not. It just keeps going to the infinite and beyond, which is not handy right now. Okay. So to this side, I'll just put all the events. The orange are events, like button presses. Or inputs, actually. I would say inputs, right? Which I also have a few of. Okay. And purple... Oop. Wasn't important. Let's not throw that away. That's gonna hurt like bips. Maybe in the future it would be a good idea to create functions that can be called on button presses to actually kind of divide these things up. Because right now they're just, yeah, they're horrid, aren't they? Just, yeah. Okay. Let's get into these. That's the loading screen, so that gets called. And loading should also just... Where's the... Yeah. look for saved variables and implement them, and then we say one run. I'm doing that for myself so I can actually keep track of if a variable is meant to like run once or multiple times. So that's that one. Yeah. I used to remember a visual coding program. I think it was Unreal. The Unreal Engine. Back when it was called Kismet. That was either 3 or 4, Unreal 3 or 4, and you could actually like make boxes in the background and give it a name, which would be nice to have it here too, that you can actually say like on startup these are the things that run, or these run more than once, or these have to do with HP, or that would be nice though. Okay, these are events that happen with button presses. This is also something happens when you have 0 HP left. And I think this one has to do with naming convention too, because this is, yeah, this draws the death saving screen. What does this do then? This is death saving layout then, would say. It takes away all the sprites, turns it invisible, what I talked about before, sets on everything, variables that need. It's not really setting the layout, but it's sometimes. We're going with layout. Because layout should be called only once per time. In this case, you can get your death saving throws more than once. Or you could be dying more than once during a session, so it will get hit more than once, but every time you go into like the unconscious state, it should only have to run this one once. But this would then indeed be death saving. Screen. Okay. Death saving screen. Yes. Yay! And we can't call it sooner to set everything up, because actually in this layout it tells to make stuff invisible, like the HP bar, and maybe just in case somebody breaks it, which is, I know my playtesters, they will most definitely break it, and I might break it myself though. I'm going to set this bar in invisible too. But then I have to be sure that it becomes visible again. Oh no. Oh no. Where do I put it visible again? Here I put it visible again. Yes. Duplicate. Yes, make it visible. It's counterintuitive saying Is it invisible? No. Instead of going like, is it visible? Yes. But that's because you can do other stuff with it too. Goes through sprites. Yeah, relative to camera, bounce off walls. That's for other styles of games. Mostly for top downs or like platformers. That works pretty well. What else do we have? Okay, we don't fill you yet. Maybe we should. I'm gonna put you here because you're something that will go like only once. Okay, update spells. It's different from the spell screen, but it is similar to HP and temp HP screen. Here we're going to change variables, I think. Okay. So what's the intent? The intent is that it, when pressed, I think I wrote it down somewhere, but now I don't remember. So when selector is on a slot, A was use slot, B was restore. Restore slot. That's kind of what I agreed on. Figured it would be. And we have, yeah, the menu status should be 4 for the spell slots. So we have when up, down, left, right. We should have A first. Okay. I say call update spells. That's variable. And at the end, that variable should call on you. So that's always something that needs to happen, because he has to, like, when it's updating the variables, it needs to call the screen again to actually draw it again. Right? Right. Right. Let's do A first. So I had already built in if A is pressed and the menu is 4, then update spell. Okay. That's not gonna work though. It has to first look where the selector is. If the selector is on like this row, then it should go to menu 4 and call update spell. and that we use the function update spell to check where the selector is to actually see which slot it has selected. Okay, so to do that we have to figure out how the selector, how we can see where the selector is. I think we can do that with the up down. Because in the up down we actually already did that. So wait. Yeah. If menu state is 0, which it is when it's in here, and we can then say if is 1, then call HP. If it's 2, so we don't have that. Else, if, then we have to say if selector is I think I need this one, right? If selector is on line 1 plus 3. Line 1? No. It should be on line 2 though. Menu select to 4. Oh wait, I already do that though. Ha! I already built it in. I already built in that if it goes up and down, it checks on which line it is and then actually changes the select, the menu select, in anticipation of what menu is going to go in. So then it had already set, if it goes down to this line, it will automatically go to menu select 4, which is what it wants. Oh, it's so much easier that way. So this is correct. Oh, cool. Then all we have to do, I amaze myself with my own things. Then what we have to do in the update spells is figure out where it is, on which spell slot it is. But we also have to keep track on if A or B is pressed, isn't it? But we can actually give it like we can give it a variable. Added function. Yeah. We can give it a boolean. Boolean A or B. As you can imagine, my naming convention does get me into trouble. Now you know why. Yes, and if we say first thing we ask is A or B, so we say true, and if the same thing happens in this one, we can add one to say if menu select is 4 and B is pressed, then call this one, but you are false. Yay. Okay. So that's taken care of. But then we have to figure out, how do we do the spell slots? The spell slots are being stored in an array. And it now has like the maximum able spell slots for a level 20 character. But Shanko isn't level 20. So we have to keep in mind that the array can be shorter. We can fix that. Because there is a way to check the length of the array. But first, I think I already do that with left and right. Let's see if I do. I use that for... yeah, I use the spell Sprite spacing for it. I think I tested it that if I have less than 9 slots, if the selector would still stop at level 8 if I don't have a level 9. I can't really read that out of this code though. But it's easy to simply test it though. If I go back to the stats of my character and say that they don't have a level 9. And they don't have a level 8 either. So you can see that the balls have already disappeared. Yeah, it doesn't go further. Oh, I made it to stop. I thought I had like cycled them through, but I don't. Okay. Fine, that's something for later. So I actually shouldn't be looking at going left. I should be looking at going right. Okay. Yes, I use the length of the array to determine. Okay, if my select sprite's position is less than the length of the array and sprite spacing, it should be fine. So I don't have to like build in a max in that function. Because the selector will never go that far. Cool. I still am going to need an if statement to figure out where it is. Brain is hitting a blank. Yeah, you guys can collapse. I know what you're doing. I need the right button. So the first thing I need to know is the sprite X location. That's one of the variables that I need. How do I know if it's the first one or if it's the last one? Is it simply the sprite's location divided by? Like divided by the sprite spacing? I want to look if left and that is on. Yes, it is. Just like the, yeah, if it's, 10 was the padding that we used. Let's write down padding. 10 pixel padding. So the most left position will always be 10. And then it would divide by spell sprite spacing. So the spell sprite spacing is also important. Okay, I think I have enough idea of what to do this. Collapse block. Yeah, collapse you 2. Okay. So. Oh yeah, and we have the true false, but we can change that later. Logic, right. It's a math thing. If this is 10, would be the first one though. Then we go to array, because we're going to change an array. A list, and that's going to be current magic array. Set value of 0, because the first slots are all cantrips, which are basically level 0 spells. Can't I just say it's set, right? I don't want to set, I want to change it. Insert at remove value, add value to end, no. Insert at. I think that's what we're looking for. No, that's an insert. That's not what I want to do. No. It's -1. Do I have to... Can't I just change the value? Find index, reverse list. Insert a value. No. Oh, boo-hoo. Okay. So first we have to set a variable. Sure. Variables galore. Set. New variable. Don't rename it. It's a different variable. What do you call it? Okay, set current magic slots 2. and then it has to get the value at 0 from the current. Good magic, really. I could do it in here, I think, but that might give an error because you're changing a value while you're requesting the value. Which could be a problem. Doesn't need to be, but yeah. Okay. And then we say variable. And this is on alphabetical order. Set value to current spell slot -1. Yay. And then it will call shall we give it a try? Okay. Not much happens. Okay. No, let's do a different console command and say cantrips, and then we say this one, and we say there. Okay. Cantrips 5, cantrips 4, cantrips 3, 2, 1, 0. Yay! Oh. Oops. Yeah, we'll set a clamp in there later. But it does get cold. So this does happen. It's just another draw issue, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah, it might be. Do I need to... Maybe I need to destroy the spell sprites first when spell screen is activated. Seems to work sometimes. Destroy. Destroy all sprites at the kind of saving sprite, spell sprites, and then it has to redraw it. Okay. Bloop. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, so that works. As in, it's updating the screen. The only thing is, it's supposed to replace them with these. But if I remember correctly... Next. Where are my current Where do I make my current array? I know it gets called here, but it's not made here. What was it? Current magic. Loading and saving. Do I not set it anywhere? No. That can't be right. I did used to have it though. Uh-oh. I only set here what the max is, but I had defined current, didn't I? Or did I throw that out in favor of the loading and saving? Uh-oh. Because then I should already make it in the spell screen. No, I can't make it in the spell screen. No, it's already made with the that one. Main layout. Main layout has nothing to do with that. No. That one has nothing to do with it. You have nothing to do with it. It's already made. It already gets made in the load save, and I think in reset too. Because in reset, I tell it to change current magic array to max magic array. And then I load it. So this shouldn't be the issue. Okay, let's just go through the code. Okay, it repeats itself for the length of the max magic array, which is correct because that's what we're looking for. Repeat, get level 1. Yeah. If count is lower than the current magic array, get value at spell level. Oh, huh? Okay. No, this should work. Because it goes as far as the length of the array. First thing it does is set the count to 0. Okay. The spell level count is 0, so it goes to what is... We're going to repeat this the amount of times of the value of 0, which should be 6. So we'll go through this 6 times, and then it goes to count. So if count, which is 0 at this point, is lower than the value of the current HP on level 0, then he sets a sprite of the purple. And he puts it on position predefined, blah, 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 blah. If not, it puts a black sprite there and changes. Okay. Let's, for sake of it, yeah, it's gonna run here anyway, so. And say 5, 2. See, that is working. It turns it black, as it's supposed to. Okay. It says cantrip 5. Okay. And if I go down and I say, oh, I just went one. Oh. Blop. Why does it work now? Is it because I actually made the array, but it's already defined before? Now. Okay. So I guess at the load, I just need to actually make it. Make the array. But I can't. I was struggling with that before. And like array. Doesn't make sense to me. Damn it. Why is this not working? It's frustrating me now. Because I don't get an error that there's something wrong with the array. Let's save it. Maybe that's what's bothering it, because there is no save variable on it right now. But I called it magic, right? Magic. Magic. Set magic to a number array. Current array. And it does not like it. Does it not like it? No. Does it actually need to do it first or something? Let's not do that, because that creates loop. Wrong loop. Wait, it just changed. Maybe. Okay, so that was the problem. Cool. So that works now. Yay. I think I'm gonna leave it at that for now. Because I have been going far enough with this. I'm going to try to cram the Meowbit back into its silicone skin to keep it safe. Well, thank you guys for listening and thinking along if you did. It's very helpful. And if you have any ideas on how I can improve this, please let me know. Because I'm kind of just trying things out and seeing what happens. And I'll hopefully see you guys next time.